1-star reviews.
Jumanji, The Next Level.
Did you hate the next level of Jumanji? Add your 1-star review in the comments. Worse than previous chapter. Too slow and too many weird conversation. The action also not intense, and messy. A big letdown. This film start with the introduction of the previous film's characters. Spencer take out his game console from the basement and disappear scene. As turnout, this film is about previous characters. And 2 more new characters, Eddie and Milo, try to save Spencer, who gone missing into the Jumanji game by retrieve the so-called Falcon Jewel. Entire film quite slow, and full of boring conversation. The overuse of the disappear and landing scene also make the film unwatchable. Barely laughable scene is, Mouse and Braveston try to get rid of a bunch of ostriches attacking them. Barely intense scene is, Braveston punching uncountable man, when he want to demo his power. At the end, Braveston successfully retrieve the Falcon Jewel and give it to Ming. Ming fly with the Pegasus and show the Falcon Jewel at direct sunlight and shouted Jumanji to save the Jumanji world. All the gamer back to their real world, and saying not to get back to the Jumanji world again. Still have a post-credit scene. A repairer called by Spencer's mother accidentally trigger the creature from the Jumanji world into the real world by touching the game console. That's it. A disappointed sequel.
Horrible. The Rock doesn't even bother keeping a consistent accent. Jack Black and Kevin Hart are cringeworthy. Karen Gillan was okay, but the jokes and screenwriting are just horrible. Very few jokes actually work. The characters just stand around and tell horrible jokes every scene. There is no coherent plot. Possibly the worst part about the movie was The Rock. His performance was some of the worst acting I have ever seen. It's sad because The Rock can actually be a great actor. See his movie faster. But this has to go down as some of the worst acting done by any huge star. The dialogue is so on the nose and expositional at times. The director and screenwriters should never be allowed to work again. Honestly, what happened? Who greenlit this? The sad part is that this movie will definitely break even or make some money at the box office. But the movie could make a lot more if it was actually decent.
Please, save your precious time without watching this piece of art. It's not even worth your penny. And please reboot this movie if you want to make another Jumanji. You've ruined my childhood's memory. Couldn't get through it. 2 hours of watching Kevin Hart do a Danny Glover impersonation and The Rock do a Danny DeVito impersonation. They make a joke of it, but every time Kevin Hart speaks the movie stops because apparently Danny Glover takes 2 minutes to say anything. Then halfway through the movie they still don't understand that they're in a game. Unbearable. Sad because I loved the first one where I didn't think the avatars were doing impersonations of their users though. Not really. This movie dies over and over again. And wastes Karen Gillan's and Jack Black's efforts in the process.
Jumanji, The Next Level of Hell. If you desperately need to kill 2 to 3 hours of your life and you can't get an appointment at your dentist, this movie is just right for you. I think that someone accidentally submitted a napkin with a transcription of a high school conversation during lunch break as a scenario. It is truly sad thing about a movie when you realize that best dialogue of it is one-sided conversation with a channel. I have been counting the deaths of the characters, hoping for the 3rd death as soon and as painful as possible. The best thing about this movie are the titles at the end of it because you know that your suffering is finally over. Abysmal. Thing atrocious. I literally fell asleep in the cinema. This is actually horrible.
Abysmal. I have to say I went into this film with an open mind. I loved the original Jumanji film, and while I was not expecting a remake of any kind, I was hoping that some of the original magic had been retained. What I discovered was a hollow shell. Even for modern films, Jumanji: The Next Level went to extra lengths to be unoriginal. Flat. Humorless and frankly at best a straight-to-DVD release, the acting by most of the cast was uncomfortable to watch as it was clear that no one really understood what was expected of them by the director. The graphics was as expected excellent and actually worked against the film in this instance as it really highlighted how shallow and poor the writers did with the script. Overall I would say I am being generous giving it a 1 star.
Just awful. Yet again. I have to walk out of another Kevin Hart film. I have tried to watch most his films but have never made it to the end of one. I'm not blaming Kevin alone for this rubbish. Just everyone involved. Especially the joke writers. Granted, there were a bunch of teen girls behind me who laughed out loud at everything, which just annoyed me more cause I couldn't even muster a single smile. In fact, I fell asleep watching it or else I would have left sooner. 1 is the lowest rating I can give it or else it would have been -9. -10 is reserved only for Moonlight, which I hate with a passion.
I chuckled maybe once or twice. What can I say other than it was not funny? Simple cash grab.
Unwatchable. UW alert. Actually felt bad for The Rock and Jack Black. This should be rated 4.5 in reality.
Slow-paced, walked out of cinema. Walked out of the cinema after 50 minutes in. Extremely slow-paced for an action movie. Don't waste your time. It's pretty lame.
Stupid, boring and long. Talk about a stretch. This movie idea was a good one, but they took it to a complicated, boring level and unfortunately not a level up. Previous characters got washed out from the new storyline. The new characters felt it necessary to use 4-letter words in a kids' movie. Was this to be cool? Or just make it okay to be profane? This Hollywood sucks. Some in the crowd clapped at the end. I clapped because it was over. I want my money back. P.S. Loved Knives Out and Ford v Ferrari.
Absolutely awful. I had high hopes for this movie. They were quickly dashed. This was an awful movie and incredibly stupid.
People need to start expecting more from movies. It absolutely amazes me how so many people have this movie high ratings and positive reviews. This movie was a complete cash grab by the studio, thrown together quickly and shoved out into the theaters in order to capitalize off the success of the first movie, which was average at best. I saw this with my 14-year-old son because he enjoyed the first one. The jokes, if you can call them that, were incredibly lame. And the acting was ridiculously bad, not in a so bad it's good way. And of course, the end of the movie sets up yet another unoriginal, uninspired, and unapologetically bad sequel. The fact this movie has to this date generated $350 million is both perplexing and disturbing.
Terrible script, terrible actors and terrible direction. After watching half the movie, my 7-year-old son gladly changed to another movie. He enjoyed the first movie in the series. But this one falls flat in every aspect. To start off with, the plot is ridiculous and unbelievable. The reason why they all need to return to Jumanji is that one of the characters for some unknown reason went back and now they all have to go back to get him back. Wow. Very creative and very engaging. Then there's the terrible script writing combined with awful performances that makes every attempt to comedy fall flat to the ground. Dwayne Johnson is not a particularly good actor, and in this movie it indisputably shows. Save yourself the time.
The stupidest movie I've seen. Don't understand why it has such a high rating. Probably because of some kind of nostalgia.
Great. Violence and female-led in proper clothes are fantastic achievement in our dark ages of barbarians. Other than that, movie is utter garbage for kids.
Very poor movie. I was hoping for some good comedy. But instead I saw a very poor movie with moving frames which gives headaches. I must say that I saw it in 3D and I had the impression that this movie was filmed by amateurs. The story of this movie is slim, with often change of direction, and I was wanted to leave the cinema after the first 10 minutes of the movie. Very poor movie. I'll not recommend it to nobody.
The worst movie I ever seen. It was wasting time watching this movie. If you are above 18 years, don't watch this movie. Is not suitable for adults.
DUM Banji. Very stupid film. Do yourself a favor, rent the 1995 Jumanji with Robin Williams.
2:30 of misery, rather spend 2:30 time in a dentist chair. After fighting herds of ostriches and baboons, 0 laughs, I walked out. 2:30 time be damned.
Next level humor. $hit bull pound rap. This movie is insanely horrible. Don't go watch this. The acting is horrible and the jokes and comedy are so lame.
Waste of time. This is literally what is called pie of sh. The plot is nothing new and too predictable, while it is not funny at all.
Can you stop with The Rock now? Absolutely sick of seeing his face and terrible acting. No idea how he's gotten this far.
Gassy Larry. Yep. I said it, this movie is about as entertaining as hanging out with my old pal Gassy Larry for the second time. Sure, the sights and sounds are funny, but it still stinks to high heavens in the end. That's about what this film has brought to the franchise. A god darn Gassy Larry.
Come here.